Hello, good morning. Welcome back to another science meeting. Today is Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. Our lesson for today is titled, What Does an Electrician Do? Our teaching point for today is, I can explain what an electrician does and successfully review lesson 3. This is the last lesson that we're going to have related to our lesson 3. So that means that we're going to be taking a look at the main duties of an electrician, and then we're going to complete our review lesson. Right, so let's begin right away with our question of the day. It is a device that can open or close the path in a circuit. So since this whole lesson, actually the whole unit, we have been talking about electricity and the different components that jump in. Right here I share with you four. So we have a switch, conductor, circuit, and insulator. So which one of these one is the one that can open or close the path in a circuit? I suggest that if you're still thinking, you pause the video. When you get the answer, then play back again. Right? So right here we can see that the right one is switch. So what is that, Mr. Joe? Let's take another look at that. So a switch is a device that can open or close the path in a circuit. That means that with this device we can actually allow current to flow or prevent current to flow. It is to say electricity to flow through a circuit. When the circuit is closed, that means that it's off. Or actually no, that means that when it closed is actually on because the electricity can flow around and around through the circuit. However, when the circuit is open, the current cannot flow because we are opening the circuit. Remember that for electricity to flow, it should be on a closed path. Then, if we open this path using a switch, then electricity can flow, and that way we prevent electricity from flowing on that circuit. The same thing happens when we turn on a switch, for example, to turn on a light, which is the one that we see usually at home. When we turn it on, we can see that electricity can actually flow through the wiring that is inside the house. However, when we turn it off, we open the circuit. That meaning that electricity can go through. Oh, I forgot something. So if you want to see some more information on this regard, you may go back to page 48. Alright, so right here we have our cognate of the day. In English would be resistor, however in Spanish is resistor. Oh, came out weird. Alright, so basically they're written the same way. They still have the same meaning. Or actually, what makes them different is the pronunciation. So what is a resistor? It is basically an object in an electrical circuit that resists, that prevents the flow of energy. I don't know if you have probably opened or seen any circuitry inside, if you have seen these devices right inside. This is what we call in electronics and electricity a resistor because they prevent certain amount of electricity to go through. Depending on the combination of colors that we have, we may have more resistance or less resistance. An example of a resistor that we usually use is a light bulb, right? Because light bulb consumes energy. Any device that consumes energy, we can actually call it a resistor. Because when we turn on the switch actually, then electricity can flow through this light bulb. This light bulb consumes the energy that is coming in, actually taking the energy that it needs to work, and then he lets out the energy that it doesn't need. Alright, so we're still on our module energy transfer, actually finishing lesson 3 on electricity. and we are supposed to already be able to to answer our essential question, which is how electrical energy is transferred. So yet again, our teaching point for today is I can explain what an electrician does and successfully review lesson 3. Let's take a look at that. Remember that we're supposed to have our date, lesson name, and teaching point written so far. Alright, so let's open our book on page 57. Right there we're going to see on the very top a title that says STEM connection. What does an electrician do? Have you ever wondered? We usually see these guys like wearing a lot of tools around their pants and actually stripping, cutting cables, tightening them, and actually doing stuff that seems dangerous. But let's see what they do really. Alright, so right here you can see this lady right here, an electrician. So that means that electrician can be either females or males. It doesn't matter. Right here she's holding a multitester, which actually is a tool that allows us to measure how much current is flowing through a circuit. Right. So if we take a look at this page, we're going to see that the first paragraph that you will find is this one. So let's read together. The next time you flip on a light switch or turn on a computer, think an electrician. How is that? Right? All the connections, all the thinking behind that is actually, or it is by an electrician or involved electrician. How is that again? Now, they're supposed to know about how electricity can flow so they can actually design different circuitry. They also need to know about the materials that they're going to use in order for us to have these devices running safely and actually can be functional. Electricians are responsible for safely wiring buildings. What does that mean, wiring buildings? As we saw before, a wire allows electricity or actually allow us to convey or to take electricity from one point to another safely, right? So if we can actually take a look inside the walls of our house, we will see that inside we have different rows of wire. This wire conveys electricity from a power source that is outside of our house and then distributing that electricity along the different elements and power outlets that we have in our home. That way, we're able to connect the different devices that we have. We can connect the refrigerator, we can turn on different light bulbs, we can actually have power to connect the internet and cell phones and everything. So basically, this wiring goes inside our walls so we can actually protect the wiring, protect ourselves from any electrical shock. So these wires allow electricity to flow to all areas of a house or the building because not only houses have wiring, right? So whenever you see let where that we can actually use electricity right inside, we have some wiring behind. So lights, computers, televisions, and many other devices run on this electricity. Electricians make sure that the distribution of this wiring are kind of the same in the house. Why is this? Because we don't want to overload any power outlet. If we overload the power outlet, then we might have a short circuit. Our electricity will be cut, and then we will need to wait for an electrician to actually come and solve that problem. So it is not recommended that you plug in many things to a power outlet because they have a specific um, power capacity. If we go over that one, then we may have a short circuit, and that's not good. Okay, so electricians also repair or replace faulty wiring. That means wires that doesn't work anymore. Wires that doesn't work can actually convey electricity properly. So it is pretty dangerous to have these situations at home or anywhere actually. Transformers, they can also repair transformer, which which actually lowers the electricity to such a degree that our houses can use it. Then we have circuits, fixtures, and breakers. All right, a breaker is kind of the same as a switch. It can actually prevent or let the electricity flow into our house or to different actually parts of our house. This is critical when preventing house fires due to other electrical problems. As I said before, we have an electrical issue at home, we may get a fire. If we overload, for example, the power outlet, we may have a short circuit and then we may have a fire at home. So electricity is really helpful, but we should handle it with care. However, even though they can manipulate electricity with that voice, they don't use their bare hands, right? Because electricity can be really shocking and at some point deadly. So electricians use many different tools to do their job. This must be able to read blueprints. What is a blueprint? Basically, a blueprint is a drawing, a design of how these components will be connected inside the walls. As you can see right here, we can see the different light bulbs that are going to be installed in the house. So that means that according to the places that these components will be, for example, power outlets, light bulb we can see right here. I can see a socket over here. That means that depending on this, then the wire will go through. Right here in this house, you can see the same thing. Alright, so what else? Right here we can see four different tools that are the most used by them. We have a plier right here, we have a screwdriver to actually unscrew any screw. Right here we have a wire stripper. What is that? We can put, we have wires of different uh, dimensions. We have some that are thick, we have some that are thinner. So according to their um, thickness, we can put them inside this, let's say, little teeth, and we can actually expose the copper that is inside. That allow us to actually connect them and manipulate them because as we know, wires have insulators that prevent electricity to shock people when they touch it. So right inside, we have some copper that conveys the electricity to where we want. So with this, we can actually cut different wires. Right here with this tester, we can measure how much current is flowing on a circuit. Some of these have many functionalities that allow us to actually measure voltage, current, but also resistance. They must be able to read blueprints and other diagrams to properly install wiring. As we saw before, blueprints, sorry about that, are sort of maps that allow them to see where they're going to install every component. They also inspect existing electrical equipment and identify problems. So basically, they are masters of electricity. That's why we call them electricians. So they know how to manipulate them, what tools to use, and solve any problem that might come related to them. All right, so for our independent work at the end of this page, we will see this question. How would an electrician help you design a community warning system that uses sound and light to alert the residents of a city? All right. As a module project at the end, we're still missing one more lesson to get to work on that. We're going to be working on different alarm systems. Now, think about how would an electrician help us to design this. Are we going to be needing that? Are we going to be needing electricity to power our alarm system? So think about that and let me know in your book. After that, we're going to move on to our lesson review. Right there on page 54, we have the first question. If you remember at the beginning of the lesson, we were discussing about how a trolley works. What's the main function of the wires on the top? Do we have electricity on the rails? If we don't remember that well, you may go back to that activity. How do the overhead wires make the trolley move? So you have many space right there, so so you can develop your ideas, and then I can actually rejoice on reading this. So please don't answer into lines. If we keep on moving, then on page 59, we have this three-dimensional thinking activity, right? This activity sort of kind of is on your brain. So what role does the switch play in a circuit? If you need more information on this, you may go back to our question of the day, or you might play yesterday's video, it's actually Monday's video, where we talk a little bit more about switches. So basically they're asking you here, what's the role? What does what does it mean to have a switch on a circuit? What is the main function? Alright, so right there you're going to explain that. Then we have another question that says, what happens to the brightness of poles each time another is added in a series circuit? What about in a parallel circuit? If you're not sure about this, before answering, please go back to page 53, because right there we have another explanation of what a parallel and series circuit is. Then we move on to question number 3, where you have a multiple choice question. So, and is a material that slows or stops the flow of energy. If you actually were paying attention to the beginning of this lesson, then you probably already got the answer. If not, please go back to page 48 and right there we can see the definition of each of this. And then at last, this one is really important because you are going to be researching about batteries, right? So you're going to conduct some research to find out how batteries work. You might already probably know this one. And then you're going to find out about other new type of batteries and their advantages and disadvantages. So make sure that you really find out on this on Google because we're going to be using this information to create a poster on Friday. On Friday we have our technology class, so on that lesson I will teach you a website so we can actually try a poster showcasing these differences or actually advantages and disadvantages of using batteries. Later on, we're going to make a news report to communicate your findings. The way that we're going to communicate these findings is by making a poster so everybody can actually see them. So use the space below to take notes and plan your news report. Probably you won't have that much space right there to show your work, to actually show your research. So I recommend that you use your notebook because right there you have greater space to develop your ideas and your findings. So focus on researching the advantages and disadvantages of batteries, right? Make sure that you have it because we need that information for Friday. Alright guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this lesson. That will do it for today. I hope to see you real soon and I'm really missing you. Bye bye, take care and stay safe at home.